Hey everyone, welcome to the Daily here on MLSsoccer.com. Josh Weisenhunt joined here by Greg Lawless. And Greg, we have some big news coming out of the U.S. men's national team camp. Brian Straus of the Sporting News dropping an absolute bombshell yesterday.
Yep.
His article coming out that there are big questions within the U.S. camp about Jurgen Klinsmann's leadership, about his tactics, about his communication methods. I mean, this is something that I don't think we've seen in quite a long time. What does it all mean? We're 2 days out from Friday's match.
It's amazing. A huge World Cup qualifier coming up on Friday against Costa Rica at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. It's at 10 p.m. We're going to have all kinds of coverage on MLSsoccer.com. But before that, we're waiting over the next 2 days to see who from the national team is going to talk to the media at all. Because Straus's article does, as you said, it drops a bomb on this whole thing. All of these questions that come around from communication, from tactical awareness, it harks back to Philipp Lahm's book about Bayern Munich, and Straus is very, very strong in making that connection as well. Questions around his assistant coaches, in particular Martin Vasquez. That's a question that came out of this one. But I don't know how this falls forward. Is this something that motivates this national team, or is it something that sends them into a tailspin even further? There are lots of questions in the whole community right now about whether this U.S. national team under Klinsmann has what it takes to qualify in the gauntlet that is the hexagonal. Friday night's game is going to be a big starting point for if that question to be answered, really.
And now you can catch a link to Brian Straus's piece on MLSsoccer.com or in the description below. Now, Greg, a couple more news items surrounding the national team. Carlos Bocanegra coming out on Facebook yesterday and sort of giving his vote of confidence to Klinsmann, sort of another subplot.
Yeah, amazing. Let's not forget, Bocanegra, the longtime captain for the national team, he was snubbed in this one. And actually in Straus's piece, some interesting things about how he was taken for a total surprise when he was left out of the starting lineup down in Honduras. But Bocanegra takes the high road and he says we need to support this national team. There are times when the coach comes out and makes decisions, and basically what he did is he showed leadership. He showed what this team maybe is missing. The squad that's out in Colorado right now is missing. That leadership to say, I take responsibility for my situation right now. We all need to support this national team.
Certainly. And speaking of leadership, another veteran presence brought into the squad yesterday. It was announced Brad Davis, left-sided midfielder for Houston. What's he going to bring to the squad? What's he going to bring to this group?
Well, I think that they were looking for some flank play. They needed a little more flank play in the roster, and also a set-piece specialist. He's a guy who can put the ball anywhere he wants with that magical left foot. They didn't have anyone on this team who had the capability to really do that on set pieces, so he brings that.
Well, it's certainly going to be a fun couple days. We'll be watching to see how it all shakes out, and we will have all the coverage on MLSsoccer.com leading up to U.S.-Costa Rica, 10 p.m. on Friday night. And speaking of the Houston Dynamo, Brad Davis's teammate Boniek Garcia feeling pretty confident with his Honduras teammates going into this clash against Mexico. Greg, he's saying they're going to win 1-0. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that he's maybe a little bit deluded. I don't know. This is a very strong Mexico team. However, to his credit, this is a very strong Honduras team, especially at home. They're in San Pedro Sula for this one. They got that great victory against the U.S. last time out. And Mexico, don't forget, got that draw at Jamaica. So maybe they saw something in that game that makes him feel even more confident that they can get a win in this one as well.
Well, they certainly are a strong side. Honduras flying high. Leading up to that one's going to be 5 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Honduras and Mexico. We'll have coverage of that one on MLSsoccer.com. Bit of MLS player news before we get out of here today. Greg, Bakary Soumare, center back for Philadelphia Union, coming out saying that he's requested a trade and they're working on it for him. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, it has been brewing for a while. Soumare, ever since he joined the Union, hasn't been getting regular playing time. John Hackworth, the coach for the Union, saying they're going to accommodate his trade request. He's right now with Mali for a World Cup qualifier back in Africa. So when he gets back, though, I think they will start working very strongly to move him to some other club.
And some other club, Greg, where do you think would be a potential good fit for a player like him?
Well, Soumare himself talked about maybe a return to Chicago where he saw his glory days in MLS before moving to Europe for a couple of years. I think Chicago would be a good fit for them. They're kind of thin right now in the back. I also think a club like Toronto could use some help in the back line. Maybe Soumare could fit up there. He's almost in the mold of a Ryan Nelson, big, strong, kind of a leader, lots of experience. So you could see Nelson maybe bringing him up there for that.
Well, we certainly will keep an eye on Soumare and everything that happens with that. That does it for us here on Wednesday. Don't forget, check out Anatomy of a Goal on MLSsoccer.com, and also send in your questions for our fantasy experts. Another big weekend coming up.